morning, students. Welcome back to our class. Today, we can start our last chapter, chapter 8, Habitat and Adaptation. Okay. So, in this lesson, we are going to learn how plants and animals are suited to live in the different conditions of the atmosphere. Okay. We know that our earth is a home for all the organisms. So there is the vast surface of the earth which presents a huge variety of conditions, that are suitable for different plants and animals to live. Okay, so in the earth, diverse conditions are there. In the different parts of the earth, there are diverse conditions which are adapted the plants and animals to live in these places. So the plants and animals, that is the organisms which live in the particular place, should have some special features. Okay, so then only that can live in that area. Okay, so the living conditions of the organisms may be differ. So in order to get, mainly the organisms live in a particular place mainly for food, isn't it? Mainly for food, water, air, and protect themselves and also to breed. So that is why the organisms live in particular conditions. Okay, so in order to, the climatic conditions are vary in different parts of the world. So the plants and the organisms which live in that conditions, they will have some special features in order to adapt that surroundings, in order to live, in order to exist in that surroundings, they will have some conditions. You know that the plants and animals, the organisms, they live in different conditions. Some can live in land, some can live in water, some can live air, like that. So that living conditions may be differ in different organisms. Okay, so in this lesson we are going to learn which are the different environment, surroundings, or the living conditions, and which are the different types of animals living in these areas. Okay, we know that plants and animals live in particular area. So the area or the surrounding in which the organisms live is called habitat. Okay, so habitat of an organism means it is the environment. It is the environment in which that organism lives. In that environment, they will get food, air, water, and they can protect themselves from their enemies, and also that it will be suitable for breeding. Okay, so these these conditions may be in their habitat, in their particular living surroundings. Okay, so the habitat, that is the special features. So what are the special features of the habitat? That includes physical characteristic, as I told you, that air, water, temperature, and also they live with other organisms. There will be different types of organisms in particular area. So other organisms, and also that is they can live with plants, other plants, animals, and they have to adapt it for the particular temperature, etc. For example, if a fish lives in pond, so pond, if you are taking as example, pond is a habitat. So the habitat of a fish is pond. So the fish lives in pond, and in the pond we know that there are different types of plants and animals, isn't it? Okay, so the pond is a habitat of a fish where it lives with other organisms. Okay, not only the fish, but the fish live with the other organisms and also interact with the water, air, temperature. So the fish can interact with the physical conditions and also other plants and animals, other organisms. Okay, so these include in the habitat. So we can define habitat as it is a natural home of an organism. Habitat is a natural home of an organism and its immediate surroundings. Okay, natural, it is a habitat is the natural home of an organism and its immediate surrounding. Okay, so that is the habitat. So what is my habitat? The natural home of an organism and its immediate surroundings is called its a habitat. Okay, so that's about habitat. The habitat of any living creature should be a place, that is, habitat means it may be the place where it can get shelter, food, water, air, and the suitable conditions for breeding. All these conditions will be there in their habitat. Okay, an organism can live in its particular habitat if they get shelter, food, water, air, and also the place for the favorable place for breeding. Okay, so that surrounding, that environment is called that organism's habitat. Clear? So how can we define habitat? Then habitat is the natural home of an organism and its immediate surroundings. Okay. There are different types of habitat. Okay. The variety, there are a diversity of animals are there. Animals and plants. A diversity of organisms are there in the earth. And they can live in the particular conditions of the earth. According to the different conditions, different habitat of the earth, the habitat are classified into aquatic habitat, terrestrial habitat, and aerial habitat. Okay, which are the different habitat? The different habitats are aquatic habitat, terrestrial habitat, and aerial habitat. Okay. So what is meant by aquatic habitat? Aquatic means we know that aquatic, water. Isn't it? Water. So it includes rivers, lakes, ponds, and seas. So in this habitat, that is rivers, lakes, ponds, and seas, different plants and animals, they are adapted to live in this habitat. Examples: fish, water lily, lotus, etc. So these can live in aquatic habitat. So habitat means it is a natural home of an organism and its immediate surroundings. The different types of habitats in which different varieties of organisms are found are aquatic habitat, terrestrial habitat, and aerial habitat. Okay, so aquatic habitat includes rivers, lakes, ponds, and seas. Okay, so the plants and animals, the organisms which live, the creatures which live in the aquatic habitat, they will have, their body is suited to live in this particular habitat. Examples of organisms which live in aquatic habitat are fish, water lily, lotus, whale, etc. Okay. And next is terrestrial habitat. This include terrestrial means land. That is the plants and animals they living on land. So land is a terrestrial habitat. Here the plants and animals in terrestrial habitat, there are different plants and animals live. There are large variety of creatures found on land. Compared to water, a large variety of organisms can live on land. So the terrestrial habitats are classified into different. They are that is on land the conditions, the environment is different. The different climatic conditions are according to the different climatic conditions. The terrestrial habitats are again classified into desert habitat, mountain habitat, polar habitat, and forest and grassland. Which are the subdivisions of terrestrial habitat? Desert habitat, mountain habitat, polar habitat, and forest and grasslands. Okay, that is the land is the large variety of organisms are found on the land, and in the land there are different climatic conditions. That is according to the different climatic conditions that terrestrial habitat are again classified into desert habitat, mountain habitat, polar habitat, forest and grasslands. Okay, so desert habitat means we know that desert is full of sand. Is there? That is in this habitat we can see that is the area is fully covered with sand. The place where fully covered with land or sand are called desert. We know that. So in desert habitat, the land is covered with sand and high temperature. During daytime, there will be high temperature and low nighttime temperatures are the features of the desert habitat. So in desert habitat, that is full of sand, is the land is covered with sand and high daytime temperature and low night temperature, and also very little water. So there will be scarcity of rain. Very little rain is there in desert areas. So water is very less in desert habitat. Okay, high temperature during daytime there will be high temperature and during night time low temperature and very less water, and full of land is covered with full of sand. These are the features of a desert habitat. So the organisms which live in this desert have some special features in their body in order to suit their particular environment. Examples of animals, the organisms which live in desert habitat are cactus, camel, desert fox, etc. Okay, so these are some of the examples of desert habitat. The creatures, the organisms which live in desert habitat. Okay, clear? And next is mountain habitat. Mountain. So in mountain we know that there will be temperature is very low. That is cool. There will be cool every time. Rocky. This mountain habitat include rocky land, snow and ice laden regions. Okay, so in mountain habitat, this mountain habitat, the regions include are the rocky land and snow and ice laden regions. Okay, and here in the mountain regions, the temperatures they change. Temperature changes according to the altitude. According to the height of the mountain, the temperature, according to the altitude, the temperature may change. Lower regions has cooler temperature. It has cooler temperature and higher region. When you go to higher region, it will be that extremely icy and cold in higher altitude. In lower region, cooler temperature, and in higher region, that is icy, that is extremely cold. There will be extremely cold and icy. Okay, so that is the features of the climate of mountain habitat. So in mountain habitat, mainly rocky land and snow and ice-laden areas. Here the temperature is it will change according to the altitude. In the lower regions, temperature is very cool, and when good upside, that is according to the height of the altitude, according to the altitude, at the higher region, the temperature may be extremely cool. Okay, and the organisms which live in mountain habitat are pine trees, firs, yak, and mountain goats. Some of the examples of mountain habitat, the organisms which live in mountain habitats are the plants such as pine tree, firs, etc., and the animals such as yak, mountain goats, etc. Okay, commonly these type of organisms found in mountain habitat. Okay, and next type of terrestrial habitat is polar habitat. Polar habitat means it is the region of polar region. It is in the earth, the polar regions forms the polar habitat. In the polar region, we know that the temperature is extremely cold, and whole time is covered with the snow. Throughout the year, the land is covered with the ice. So, extreme cold and full of snow. That is the features of polar habitat. Organisms which live in polar habitat are polar bears, reindeers, penguins are the animals, organisms which live in polar habitat. Okay, and next forest and grasslands. You know that forest is the habitat where that is in this a variety of plants and animals are there in the forest. Okay, and here the forests are abundant in both plant and animal life. Okay, so different types of plants and animals are there in the forest habitat. The rich vegetation in the forest makes a harm to a diversity of animals. What is the reason for that huge variety of plants and animals exist in the forest? Because there will be rich vegetation in the forest. Okay, so that the forest forms homes for a different variety of plants and variety of animals. Okay, so variety of animals they can live in the forest, and this that forest is rich in vegetation, and due to that many different varieties plant animals can live in the forest. Different types of plants are there, different types of animals are there, isn't it? Rabbit, deer, elephant, lion, tiger, a huge variety of animals are found in forest. Okay, and next type of habitat is aerial habitat. So terrestrial habitat means in terrestrial habitat it includes land. So on land diversity of plants and animals can exist, and there are different conditions. That is, the climatic conditions may differ in the different regions of the land. According to the different climatic conditions, the terrestrial habitat are divided into, classified into desert habitat, mountain habitat, polar habitat, forest and grasslands. Okay, and next type of habitat is aerial habitat. Aerial habitat includes that is air. Aerial means air. Okay, so the organisms which include in the aerial habitat are various types of birds, bats, butterflies, insects, etc. Okay, so different types of birds and animals can live in the air, but no plants. Can we see plants which live in air? No plants are found in the air, But the seeds of the plants, we can that the seeds, while dispersing the seeds are dispersed by the wind through the air. So when the wind blows, the seeds may fly through the air. So that much only, but plants cannot live in the air. Okay, so that's about aerial habitat. Okay, so aerial habitat, different types of plants and animals can live in aerial habitat. That is, they can fly. Different types of animals like the birds, bats, butterflies, insects, they can fly through the air. Okay, so in order to fly in the air, these birds they have some special features in their body. Their body is adapted to fly. So in order to fly, their body is suitable for flying. For some special features will have in their body in order to fly. Okay, so in this lesson we will learn what are the special features or the adaptations which these animals have in order to live in their particular habitat. Okay, dear students, that's about a habitat and different classifications of habitat. So what is my habitat? Habitat means the natural home of our organism and its immediate surroundings. So in this portion, you have to study definition of habitat. That enough. Okay, definition of habitat and different classification of habitat such as aquatic habitat, terrestrial, and aerial habitat. And divisions of terrestrial habitat include desert habitat, mountain habitat, polar habitat, and forest and grasslands. Okay, so desert habitat means that is the desert area, and examples of the features of desert area means covered with the sand, high temperature during daytime, and low temperature at night, and examples of the organisms which live in desert area. And mountain habitat, the features means that is the temperature low in the lower regions, temperature is cooler, and when according to the altitude, the temperature may change. That is, at the top of at the higher altitude, the extremely cold temperature will be there. And examples of organisms you have to study. And polar habitat means the polar regions. It includes the polar regions. Here the temperature is extremely cold, and the whole year the land is covered with the snow. Okay, and examples: reindeer, penguin, polar bears, etc. Then forest and grasses, we know it is that all types of different huge varieties of plants and animals are seen in forest land. And aerial habitat means that is the air, and the habitat is the air, and that organisms which can live in the air or the area habitat are different types of birds, bats, insects, butterflies, etc. Okay, so that much for today. So read these portions well. Okay, we can see you on next class. Thank you.